One. Are we? Okay, we're live on there. Looks like YouTube is going live. Here we go. You know what I really don't like is when you go live. When you go live on YouTube and it automatically goes live for no reason. It should let you have that option. Just a simple discussion. Anyway, seeing that it went live on YouTube, guys, hang tight. Let's go live on the other platforms, and we will get this show rolling, huh? Live on Facebook. See if this works, because I haven't done it in so long. I don't know if all my settings are still available, and the only way you can tell is if you go live. System is a mess. All right, still waiting to send data to me on my page, but it looks like we're live on the Law and Profits page. I haven't been live on Twitch in a while. That would be new, huh? To go live on Twitch. All right, Marcus Pittman's Facebook. Why is that not working? Let's see. Let's just make sure we're not live there. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Yeah, it's not live there. Let's get that fixed. This is boring, huh? I agree. I agree. It doesn't look like Twitch is going live either. Let's see. We're gonna get this straight. I promise you. Let's see. It's been a long time, guys. There's been updates to my settings without me knowing it. Almost there. It always worries me when Facebook doesn't go live, because they tend to restrict people going live a lot. So I do see I'm live on Law and Profits, so that's good. And then let's see if this one works, and we can go live on my actual personal profile page that most people actually watch from. There we go. Looks like we're finally live on Facebook. Sorry about that delay. That's really annoying. That's really annoying. And it didn't look like Twitch was going to work, but maybe we'll do Twitch another time. But how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Law and Profit show. Let me just one real quick before we... I know, this is terribly boring. Very bad production. You're the CEO of a massive streaming empire, and the first 20 minutes of your show is trying to get your settings right? What is wrong with you people? Here we go. Let's get the chat up so I can communicate. Let's communicate with you guys. All right, chat is up. And we'll just put that where we can see it. A lot smaller window than that would be ideal. There we go. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to my live feeds. I have not been live feeding. I have not been going live for a while. Mainly because I've just been super focused on everything that's been happening with lore. And I've been trying to just keep my head in that space as it's required of me. And man, are things going really well there. I just want to say, if with the current conditions out there right now, as you would say, as the current forecast is predicting, um, with hurricane communism storming across the shores of the United States, let me just suggest that you start your own business. It's been really rewarding. We are making tons of progress with Lore every single day, new progress, and it's really amazing, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. But anyway, if you're watching the show, please feel free to join the chat. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. I haven't really done a live stream lately, as I was saying, because I've been focused on Lore, but also because all the news is exactly the same. It's just the same news on a different day. It is the same fake news on a different day, and it's just real. Like every day, you see the discussion about the thing that YouTube will demonetize you for, the sickness. Let's just make that the word for it. Can we do that? Just call it the sickness. I think I think I'm down. I think I'm down to do that. By the way, guys, if you guys are in the chat, if you guys are watching, please comment in the chat. Let me know that my chat box is working and operational and everything is functioning, because I definitely don't want to miss any of your comments. But as I was saying, everything seems to just be the exact same news story over and over and over again. It's the sickness this, the sickness that, just constantly one story after the other. And it's there. The media is not offering any hope. The media is not offering any sort of outlook that would bring people joy, other than, of course, taking their sacrament. And for the purpose of the show, we will call a sacrament, the thing. The thing. So we have a sickness and a sacrament that we've just been seeing constantly preached to us in their gospel, constantly over and over and over again. And I have to say, I'm incredibly encouraged by the sort of atmosphere of defiance that is coming out among the Christians, and I guess in my social circles for sure, and of course, like certain circles within the Southern Baptist Church, certain circles within the Presbyterian Church, and just really mainstream evangelicalism. John MacArthur recently, $800,000, $400,000 of that is to be paid from the Department of Health from the state of California, which I think is really great, a really great directed blow. And I say anytime you take money from the California Department of Health and put that into a church that preaches the gospel like John MacArthur's, that is a win. That is a win. It's so I've been very encouraged by the atmosphere of resistance that we've been seeing over the past few months. It seems that people just aren't going to tolerate it. Now, I have been discouraged. Well, I mean, I don't know if discouraged is the right word, because I feel like to be discouraged, you have to be surprised. But I'm not surprised. Like Big Eva, mainstream evangelicalism, all these satanic liberals disguising themselves as evangelicals. And yes, they are satanic, demonic liberals who are just disguising themselves as evangelicals who are just all in for the sacrament. They're all in. Take the sacrament, bruise your arm, get it done with, and then of course get your booster shot. get your booster shot, right? Because of course, as you know, it's not one baptism. It is multiple baptisms over and over and over again, routinely, with no foreseeable future. But the thing I'm seeing now, this is the thing I really want to emphasize, is as Reformed Christians, we're called to believe a presuppositional apologetic, right? That's what the basic premise there for a presuppositional apologetic is that people know that God exists, and they suppress that truth in unrighteousness. And there is no amount of Answers in Genesis articles that you can send to an atheist that will get that person to convert. There's no amount of evidence. There's no amount of science. There's no amount of data that contradicts an evolutionary worldview. That's one use of it, of course, right? So for the young Earth creation, we can take a presuppositional approach, and we could say there is no amount of evidence that will convince an unbeliever that God exists. But I would like to argue too that our presuppositionalism should not just be when we're debating science or morality and reason and all these other sort of things. We need to take that presuppositionalism into areas like politics, because when you suppress the truth and unrighteousness, it affects your entire being. It affects by entire being, I mean, it affects the entire way you think. It destroys your ability to look at logic and reason. And so when you are trying to have a debate with somebody on, let's say, socialism versus capitalism, you're not going to get that rational, let's look at the evidence kind of conversation and discussion. It doesn't matter what the CDC says. It doesn't matter what the World Health Institute says. It doesn't matter what our faux Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci, has to say or has said, and then contradicts himself, which, by the way, I'm so glad that our infallible source of truth and knowledge doesn't contradict itself the way our modern day wannabe standard for truth and knowledge contradicts itself, because you could not know anything. I posted a video to my TikTok. Yes, I have a TikTok. I'm King Ginger on TikTok. You can follow me there. I posted a video today of Fauci. I believe it was pre-2020. But essentially he says, never in the history of the world. Never in the you know what? Why don't we just play that? See if I can pull up my TikTok real quick. And because I think you guys got to hear this. More dead air, more dead air. Why do I have the Batman song in my head? No, Spider-Man. Oh, because I just watched the Spider-Man trailer. That's why. It's like, why is the Spider-Man trailer in my head? Okay.
Question is that, as Bob said, and I agree, we would...
You know, TikTok really should have a rewind feature, don't you think? So here it is. We'll pull this up. You don't really need to see my face for this. Well, let's just put it there. That way you guys can get the best of both worlds, I guess. And let me know if you guys can hear this okay.
Really like to see the data, because if there is asymptomatic transmission, it impacts certain policies that you do regarding screening, etc. But the one thing historically people need to realize, that even if there is some asymptomatic transmission, in all the history of respiratory-borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
For most.
Now, so there it is, front and center for you guys. The faux Lord and Savior talking about how in January 2020, pretty much never in the history of the world have we witnessed a virus spread through asymptomatic whatever. And and now, of course, obviously we know we have to wear the face shield. We have to get the sacrament. All these sort of things. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of presuppositionalism. Here is a man who has dedicated his life to science, supposedly, and not, crony political corruption. That's another discussion. But here's a man who's dedicated his life to science, to look at the evidence, to look at the facts, and all the evidence, his entire life, has pointed to this idea that asymptomatic people are not the main spreaders. And then he changes that. Now, some would say because it's not a normal sickness. Some would say that it's because he's looked at the evidence. But I find it very strange how you have a guy who over a year ago was saying, don't get masks, don't take a Trump sacrament. If it comes from Trump, don't take it. I saw a clip today of everybody talking, all the liberals who were saying they would never get a Trump sacrament. And and so it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And so it's got me thinking a lot about presuppositionalism in the sense of there is obvious people, even on my own Facebook timelines, even just on, in the Twitter timelines, in the social media timelines, there are people that are just outright suppressing the truth. And the truth is that there is something happening, there is something going on that is bigger than the sickness. There's something happening on a massive scale. And I'm not denying that the sickness is not real. I'm not denying that the sickness hasn't killed people or taken people's lives. I'm not denying that it's not dangerous. It is dangerous. All the more reason to ask, where in the hell did this come from? Like, all the more reason to do so. Because this is a massive global problem. It's one of those things like the nuclear bomb that should have just never been made. It should have never been invented. It should have never happened. And God is using it to judge the entire world. Everybody's looking at everybody's going back and forth on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. New evidence today, new evidence for my position, new evidence today for this position, new evidence. It doesn't matter about the evidence. It doesn't matter at this point. At this point, if you can't see that there is something fundamentally wrong, there's something fundamentally disturbing happening at a level much higher than ourselves and much lower than the God of the universe, for sure. There is something happening that is very, very concerning. And we can break this down. We could say, one, the problem is obviously government, for sure. They are dangerous at this point. They're not on your side. What's going on in Afghanistan, I don't think is due to incompetence. I don't think it's due to Biden being an idiot. I don't think that. I think it's very purposeful. It was very intentionally destructive. I It might not have been supposed to be as bad as it was, but I do believe that it was on purpose. And we have to stop acting like there could be millions of possibilities for all these different things that are happening right now. There's one, and that the world, and by world I mean mainly first world countries who turned to the gospel and then have now rejected the gospel, which is a lot, by the way. Interesting fact, when God judges when God judges the church, right? The judgment begins in the house of the Lord, right? Judgment begins in the church. Well, when the gospel has gone all over the world and it's rooted in pretty much every country in the world, and God judges the world, we get global pandemics. and so part of the thing is, so we have this judgment in the church, and then we have this judgment nationwide, and the only hope that we have at this point is to proclaim the gospel and to preach Christ and Him crucified. I don't know how long this judgment's going to last. I don't know how bad things are going to get. It's probably going to get a lot worse unless a real miracle happens. But that miracle is not going to happen without repentance. Because I think that, I honestly, when you look at this and you know the Bible is true, think about this. It would be worse for something to happen. Let's say, why is the word not revolution? A revolution takes place. The MAGA Trumpers would take over the government and win. If there was another civil war or whatever, and then the conservatives won, and we form a new country, who are they going to get to write the laws in that new country? And would such a victory be seen as a Christian victory, or would it be seen as a conservative victory? See, because we're in this situation, I feel, right now, where Moses is standing before Pharaoh and he's warning that a plague is going to happen. And that plague has happened. The frogs are everywhere, right? The water is filled with blood. And at some point, the judgments are just going to get worse and worse and worse until we finally acknowledge what what the real reason for these sort of global travesties are, whether it's hurricanes in Alabama or whether it's a global sickness, all these sort of things. It's just going to be worse and worse and worse without repentance. A judgment on our nation for godless conservatism is going to be as bad as what we have now. Remember, we had Trump in office when all this started to take place. He was supposed to rescue us. He was supposed to be our hero. And he's the one that did, of course, what was it called? Operation something fast. the thing that where you get the sacrament, and they wanted the sacraments really quickly, right? So Operation Warp Speed. There it is. Operation Warp Speed. So that was done by the guy who was supposed to save us from liberalism. And then we've had, conservative justices. We have a full conservative Supreme Court now. They have not been of much assistance. People are losing their jobs for standing on the courage of their convictions. Very brave people who have quit their jobs because of that. Just tremendous. Amazing to me. The just amount of bravery from people who have stood and said, I'll lose my job. I don't care. And that's great. That's going to help. But it seems like all of these options, all of these heroes we look at, there's no really solid Bible preaching accompanying those who are taking these sacrifices. And so I think that's something that's we really need to look at and examine ourselves as we're going through our day-to-day, as we're talking to our coworkers, as preachers are preparing their sermons for their church on Sunday. It reminds me of the Black Robe Regiment sermons, where the preachers are saying, before we step out onto that battlefield, we have to examine ourselves, make sure that we're right with God. Because if we're not, then the American Revolution will be a judgment upon ourselves. And we really need that bold, patriotic, yet Christ is King preaching to be filling everywhere in the public square at this moment. Like, we really need those sort of things to be taking place. but because, look, you're not going to be able to convince your scared family members about what the evidence says. You're not going to be able to convince them that natural immunity is better than this fake immunity. You're not going to be able to convince family members that a virus is smaller than the fabrics of a mask. You're not going to be able to convince them of any of this. Like, you can't be convincing enough, because it's not about evidence. It's about sin and suppression of what is true. I mean, when you have people who claim to be Reformed Christians, right? Like Presbyterian, solid Reformed people, and they're just gung-ho. Everything Faux Fauci says, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. I remember when I used to do street preaching, and man, I really want to do street preaching now. I really want to do it. It'd be amazing. Just maybe right in the middle of just downtown Moscow and just proclaim. It'd be amazing, or somewhere. But I just remember when we used to go street preaching, and we would use sort of apologetics to sort of gather a crowd, right? So we would just talk about evolution, or we would talk about, eventually we'd move into presuppositionalism, but initially we would do evidence and presuppositionalism. But mainly when we were doing the evidence stuff, presuppositionalism is essentially gospel preaching, so it's not the same thing. But when we were doing the evidence stuff, we would just go back and forth about young earth, and we'd have our points. And we would just debate science with atheists at colleges. I think one time I did it for like 2 or 3 hours, just nonstop, just going through the evidence, pulling up answers in Genesis articles on my phone, just one thing after the other. And I always had, I think it was Nathan Magnuson who would always say, get to the gospel, when we would preach. Because it was just, you'd get this big crowd, but then you would just get so sucked into this debate that you just completely forget really like what the core reason you're there for. And that's what's so great about presuppositionalism, is because you can debate these things. You never have to leave the core message of the gospel, because you always remain there, right? When I'm talking about politics, my message is that Jesus is king and you know it. And he's Lord and you know it. And he rose from the dead and he's sitting at the right hand of God, right? I'm having that political discussion. You want to talk to me about what Romans 13 says? Let's talk about Romans 13. When the Bible says that you're supposed to terrorize those who do evil, what is evil? What's that look like? Right? You never leave the discussion of sin when we're talking about how the government should function and what the government should do. Are masks biblical? All these, are mask mandates biblical? We're having that discussion as to what Christ allows kings to do in their rule, right? So these are all the conversations and discussions that are taking place. You don't leave that in that field, and this is why I think we need to just be presuppositional in the things that we're discussing and the conversations that we're having, and how we're debating the sickness. That's what we need to do. That's what we have to do. That's what we should do. You know what? I'm sure I have oh wow, guys, I want to apologize real quick. Let's take a break. 1 second. To all the amazing people watching on YouTube, I'm just now realizing that I have super chats because I connected my YouTube a specific way, and so they weren't coming up in my Facebook chat feed. So first off, thank you to James Baird. He says, "What are your thoughts on counterfeit sacrament paperwork?" I'll talk about that, and then get to the second one that says, from I Miss My Son, it says, seared conscience and reprobate minds. The Book of Romans. Yes, that's correct. So let's go to James. Thank you for that, by the way. Let's go to James' discussion, and what are your thoughts on counterfeit pokey paperwork? And so I will say, that I am 100% committed to the idea that there is an absolute difference between lying and deception. Now, if anybody knows me, you know I'm a big fan of the show Big Brother on CBS. I'm a huge, huge fan of that show. I love it. I love the strategy, the game of it. And I always said, if somehow I auditioned for Big Brother, if somehow they didn't look through my Twitter and Facebook feeds and thought this guy's great, he should be on the show, and I skipped all the social justice overlords that managed the casting department of Big Brother. If somehow I got on that show, I would absolutely, without hesitation, not have any problem being a villain on Big Brother and lying to every single person, because they signed up for the game and they know it's a game. They know it's what they're getting into. The same is true when you're in war, right? When you're in war and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, what's the location of your base?" You don't tell them. You don't tell them at all, right? You just don't. And then if they make you, if they have a gun to your head and they tell you to give them the location of the base or they're going to shoot you, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. You lie. You lie. You don't give away government secrets because someone asks you. That's the difference between a lie that is a deception, or I think the best way to put it is probably not all deception is a lie, right? It's not all deception is a lie. And so it's just, I mean, when you're playing a basketball game with somebody and you fake a pass, you're not lying, but you are deceiving them. But it's okay because it's part of the game, right? And so what's happening right now is the government is playing a game. And the game is that they think that you're just going to bow down and submit to every single thing they say, regardless of the fact that they don't have the authority or permission to make you do that. So I think it's very clear in Scripture with Rahab that there are times where God rewards those who deceive wisely, and so I just think it's very clear. I think if you can get the things right, if you can get the things, then you should absolutely get them. So another $10 super chat from I Miss My Son says, I am an RN for a big corp hospital here in Georgia, and I've had to resign after 23 years of caring and compassion. It hurts my heart so bad. That's really upsetting. I'm really sorry for you that you had to do that, but I just want to thank you for doing that. I want to thank you for not bowing down, for not getting the sacrament. I want to thank you for I mean, that's pretty incredible. That for your bravery after 23 years of being an RN and quitting is unbelievable sacrifice. It's an incredible amount of sacrifice, and I'm thankful for you, and it just goes to show that what's happening now isn't just nonsense that's being fed to us through the mainstream media. People are actually hurting. People are actually losing their jobs. The government is absolutely destroying people right now. There's no question about it. And I'm not just talking about the consequences of, what's the word they use? Spreading? Is it spreading? shedding. Yeah, the consequences of that. Just, I'm not talking about. I mean, that's one thing, but there's just so much right now. It's unbelievable. Uh, and so thank you for, first off, thank you. Hey, I miss my son. You don't have to send a super chat for me to answer your questions anymore. You've done plenty. Were there other nurses? I just want to know if there were other nurses that stood with you. Were you all alone in that decision? Because there really needs to be just a massive movement. It's interesting to me that there hasn't been a mass protest of medical staff currently. I mean, I know it's probably because they've been working. That's probably actually a big part of it. But there needs to be a massive. You said that you were not the only one. That's fantastic. That's really good to hear. I hope it was enough. You know, it doesn't make sense in any logical, evidential line of thinking that if the hospital beds are overflowed, if everything is going to hell in a handbasket, that you would lay off staff who are qualified and have been working for 23 years. Oh, there were nurses and doctors. Oh, that's good. There are some doctors. Yeah, what we really need, there are so many more. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I really do hope that they cause a scene. I think there really needs to be tomorrow just a million nurse march or a million MD march or so, like there needs to be something that is just undeniable. That's really you're saying that the hospital beds are empty. Well, I don't doubt that at all. I don't think most people really doubt that at all. But please stop sending me super chats. Thank you for the $5. But if you're recently unemployed, you don't need to send me super chats anymore. So yeah, I believe so. But well, tell me this: if they're lying, what are they doing? I would be interested in knowing, sort of, like how are they? How like it's easy to say that, but like how and why? Like I believe you. I just want to know the how and why. Like that's what I would like to know. I miss my son. Would you like to video chat and talk about this? Because I know we're having the chat conversation, which is, by the way, still really helpful. But if you want a video chat, I can send you a link, and I can have you on, and we can kind of actually have a conversation about this, which I think would be interesting. She says they're lying, twiddling their thumbs, and making TikTok videos. I actually saw some TikTok videos today of a nurse talking about how she quit. Oh, you do? Okay. Here, I'm gonna let me know if this link works right here. And then I haven't used that in a while, so I don't even know if that'll work anymore. No, it doesn't. Hold on. I'm gonna get you a link, and then you can go in there, and we'll have a conversation with a nurse who you're gonna have to download Discord. But if you download Discord and you enter the call-in request room on that link, let me know it's you, and I'll put you on, and then we'll go from there, and you can talk about this because I think that'd be super helpful. Guys, so if you're just tuning in, we're about to talk to a nurse who just recently quit her job because of the sacramental requirements of her job. And so I'm looking forward to this, actually. So if hopefully, I know we're doing this weird like public chat thing, but I think this will be really helpful for everybody. Hey, I see that. I think, is this you? Is this you that just popped up in the chat? Okay, she just entered the chat. Okay. I'm gonna video chat with her now. And then switch to Discord. Oh, wrong one. Let's see here. Let's see if she hops on. A little bit of a learning curve. Here we go. Hey, can you hear me? I see a fan. Let's see. Audio output device, my real deck audio, and then my video device should be my DeckLink video capture. Yeah. Well, you might not be able to see my video, but let me know if you can at least you can hear me. I don't think she can hear me. What is going on with this thing? Hold on, give me a second. Let me try to fix this. We will get you on, I promise. Have no fear. Ah. That might help. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. It was my fault. It was my fault.
Oh my goodness. I was like, I don't know what to do. I've never done this before.
Oh no, it was all me. Hold on a second. Let me put you on the show.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I have
No, it's fine.
gotten rusty. So I just want to line you up. Are we going to be able to see you, or are you going to?
Well, I'm not. I'm in my pajamas.
Okay.
If I would have known I was gonna be.
How about this? I'll just cut the video off, and we can just hear your voice.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
All right, I can hear you now. I think everybody can hear you now.
Alrighty.
So you don't have to name the hospital or anything like that.
Okay.
If you just want to first tell me like what you did at the hospital, how you got there.
Okay, so I started with this hospital back in October of 2016, and everything was wonderful and bright, and I was very excited because I had just left Alabama to move to Georgia, and worked for about 6 years, and then COVID came around, and had gotten pushed into a situation. I had just transferred within the same corporation. I had just transferred from lab outreach to employee health. And in employee health, you have to get people fitted for the N95 mask. Okay. And this is going to be it's going to be a lot of information for you guys. And I hope you could take it to heart. Now, when you're in employee health and fitting people for N95 masks, okay? Let's get to the mask first before we move into the I don't know if you want me to say it. I don't want you to get kicked off.
You can just say
The what
sacrament.
you want me to say? The jab, the
This,
J, the what?
yeah, the sacrament. Just say sacrament. That's fine.
The sacrament. All right, but we're gonna do the N95s first.
Okay.
Now, first of all, I have done N95s before. I've been in the medical field for way over 23 years, a little bit about 24, 25 years because I worked in Alabama. And I've done fit tests for N95s before. Now, with N95s, you cannot have a beard, a mustache, or anything. Okay. So how many people do you see walking around with beards and mustaches with those masks on? They're not working. It's if you do not shave your beard or your mustache when you're getting fitted for those things, we have to send you home.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
But when I go to a grocery store, I see all these people with long beards, mustache, and I love a beard now. Don't get me wrong. I love a beard now.
Yeah. So does my wife.
I love a beard, long mustache, and I tell men I hate to have to tell you, but you're gonna have to cut it off, man. You're gonna have to cut it off, dude, because we're gonna have to fail you if you don't. So that's one thing that a lot of people do not understand about these N95. Would not work with a beard or a mustache. Okay. Now, surgical mask. It's just the regular, hey, how you doing mask to go in the grocery store with. Those do not work. They don't work. And I'm here to tell you that because this is what they taught me in the hospital in employee health. They taught me that the surgical masks do not work, especially if you're in ICU unit with COVID patients. You cannot walk into a COVID patient's room with a surgical mask on. Period. It won't work. So if you don't think it'll work in there, what do you think it'll do in society? Why everybody's walking around in 90 and 100 and 104 and 105-degree weather?
Right. Right.
So, uh, you know, when COVID came around for me, I was working in employee health, and I I had no idea that it was going to be so not intoxic, but very toxic situation.
Yeah. Hold on, real
So
quick. I want people to hear this, so I just want to say this real quick. If you're listening to what I don't think you said your just give me your first name. Well,
sure, my name is Shonda. It's
Shonda.
Shonda.
Okay,
Hmm.
I
Yep.
want people to listen to you, Shonda. So if you're listening to this right now, please share the video, uh, post it on your socials, and let's because I think what you're about to say is going to be really important for us.
I
Um,
think it's very important. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, go ahead. Talk about the what you were about to say.
Yes. So when the COVID came around, it was March 2020. I had just transferred to employee health from lab outreach, and I already knew what I was doing because, like I said, I had done this prior in my career. And people had gotten so toxic, employees especially. And you would think that if you're working in employee health and you're trying to help your fellow employees, that they will be very sensitive, not sensitive, but just empathetic, and just everybody's trying to help each other. It was not that. It was very toxic. Okay, so um, we had to ante up on the mask fittings. We had to Because prior to COVID, we didn't have to ante up on the mask fittings. Like the mask sat in the closet for 50 years, and only if you had tuberculosis or whatever, that's when the mask came out. So, in other words, we had to dust the top off the mask for this COVID situation, which was very surprising to me. And once that was done, very surprising to me and how people reacted, employees especially. Now, once we got into the groove of things, we were fitting for the mass, and everybody was walking around with the N95s and also with the half face mask. And what a face mask is the one that you have to connect the disc on the sides, on each side. So we had to eventually start fitting physicians and medical doctors, and also pharmacists that worked inside the hospital for those. Um, the thing that surprised me is that all of a sudden everybody wanted to get engaged and be, like take over my job, per se. When all the time, every year, we had to have them come in to get mass fittings, but they never showed up before this.
Mm.
But since this hit, they wanted to all show up and make sure you get me in and get me an appointment and make sure, you know, um, I'm fitted for this. It was very surprising to me. Um,
So what led to you just finally resigning? Did you resign? How long ago did you do that?
Let me tell you, I resigned July July 1st, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
Nobody believed me in Georgia. Everything happens in the northern states, right?
Right.
But nobody believed me in Georgia, and I was telling my coworkers, I'm not finna get that vaccine. Oh, Shonda, girl, that'll never happen here. They'll never make you get a vaccine. They'll never mandate a vaccine here. I said, I promise you, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
And guess what? I resigned before it came, and once it came, all my ex-coworkers are calling me, Shonda, you know what? You were right. You were so right. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Hey, pray. Let's start with that, you know?
So, but
Um,
you didn't resign because you were forced to, but you resigned because you saw it coming.
I resigned because I knew it was coming.
Hmm.
And let me tell you something about the place that I work for, because everybody was like, well, why didn't you just let them fire you and then you can draw unemployment? Let me tell you why. These people, they're crazy, but they ain't too crazy when they want to take away and strip you of everything in your life. So the deal with the corporation I work with, the hospital that I work with, what they have done is demanded that all the physicians get their vaccines before September 13th. If they didn't get their vaccines before September 13th, they got a 30-day suspension. And once you get a suspension off of a job, do you think you can come back and say, well, I didn't get it, and then draw unemployment? Once you get a suspension, you don't get unemployment. You understand what
Okay.
I'm
Got
saying?
it. So
Now,
yeah. So they know.
right,
Yeah. Right.
if they fired you and they didn't suspend you, or they didn't tell you, hey, you didn't do what we tell you to do, then you can draw unemployment. But they were smart. They went in and said, we're going to suspend you for 30 days.
Hmm.
And then if you come back and say, hey, I didn't get the vaccine, well, you're fired. And then you go to the unemployment office and they be like, well, did you get suspended, or what happened?
Yeah, let me
That's
ask you
the
let me ask
game
you
they're
this.
playing.
Yeah, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
Is there a financial incentive for the hospital to treat those with the sickness as opposed to regular people? Are they is there a reason why the hospitals are placing so much emphasis on this over other things besides uh, it actually being
Well,
serious?
of course they're not going to tell you that, right?
What?
They're not going to voice the. I said, of course they're not going to tell you
Oh, they
that.
don't.
They're not
They
going to
don't.
tell you that.
I didn't
But I'm
know
going
if
to
you
tell
know.
you this.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to tell you this. Now, while I was there, the nursing homes, the place where the employees were working, where there were older people, the people that were vulnerable, they had those employees testing twice daily. They had to have that thing shoved up their nose twice daily in order to keep their jobs. This was before the vaccine. So
Right.
before they came to work every day, they had to get a COVID test twice daily.
Mhm.
And that does more harm than good.
Mhm. Right.
So you had a lot of people leaving the nursing home through our corporation prior to the vaccine.
Mhm.
So no, they're not going to give you a reason why. They're just going to push the narrative.
Right. Right. Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Were you able to find another job
I
before you
know.
resigned, or are you still?
Hey, you know what? I depend on the Lord Jesus
Mhm.
Christ to
Yeah.
supply all my needs.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to come together as Christian brothers and sisters. We're going to have to build our own network, get our own, because I know a lot of physicians that are Christians.
Mhm.
They're going to end up having to go out and build their own doctor's
Yeah.
offices and
Yeah.
hire those people that go against the narrative.
Yeah. That's going to be the bright
You
part about all of
that
this.
I'm telling
Privatized
you.
hospital. Yep.
And same thing with instructors or teachers. I just want to say this before I let you go, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to share.
Mhm.
Even with teachers, I know I don't want to put my grandkids in a school. So with teachers or instructors that don't want to get this thing, um, I suggest they open up like their own in their homes, maybe open up like their own homeschooling program
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
and make you see what I'm saying? It's other ways to do it. The Lord can open your eyes, you know.
Right. Right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me, and really appreciate your faithfulness and standing on the courage of your convictions. If you could, by the way, just maybe send me like a private message, just some proof that you actually worked at a hospital if you have it. If not, it'll help. It'll
Oh,
help. But you don't have to make it public. But just some sort of
absolutely.
yep. All right. Well, it was great talking to you. Thank you
Thank
so
you, dear.
much.
All right, I appreciate you. Have a good night.
Bye. So that was fun. That was fun. See, the truth is there's probably a lot more than her that are telling similar stories. And I did ask her to send some sort of verification that she was actually a nurse because you don't know, and the Bible wants us to verify and stuff like that. We don't want to just be 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 doing just anything. So I did ask her for that. But just maybe just consider the show like what's that show late night coast to coast. Just people call in and tell stories. and but I believe her, and I think there's uh, way more stories we're gonna hear over the next coming months, and so they need to be told. They they need to be told. People's voices need to get out there to some degree. So uh, that was awesome. We need to have more. We really need more Christian call-in shows, right? Like that, just sort of like that, just Wild West call-in show where you just take calls. Yeah, coast to coast with Art Bell. uh, so So I'm King Ginger on YouTube. Those were asking where on Facebook where I was on YouTube, but that's where. But yeah. So maybe we just need to like take over the call-in show and just start doing that really well. Nobody's doing that anymore, especially both conservative politics and liberal politics. They're not doing just pure call-in shows. So, but yeah, that was good. If anybody else wants to call in, just put a message in the chat. I'd be more than happy to have you on as well. I'll post the Discord link on Facebook. So that posted, I think it'll post to Facebook, maybe not. Oh, yep, it looks like it did. So that's the Discord link. You can just go into the, it is the call-in request room. And if you want to talk, you can talk in there. You can video chat or whatever. But that was really good. I'm really glad we did that. We need to get these stories out there. We need to get those stories out there. So, but you know, I mean, there's people. There's a lot more consequences to this virus than just than just the sickness and death toll. There's a lot more. People losing their jobs, people losing their businesses, people having to move across the country away from family to find new work. There's a lot of loss that is brought on by the government corruption that is greater than the loss of life. And I'm talking about like suicides. I'm talking about the amount of the abortions that happen as a result of people being quarantined for a while and getting pregnant and deciding they don't want the baby, so they kill it, right? So there's a lot of loss of life that is not a result of the virus itself. And in addition, there's the consequences of the losing the jobs, losing the businesses, restaurants shutting down, depression, suicide, all sorts of stuff. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg in terms of those sort of things. And so it's really, 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 we're in a bad place. We're in a bad place, and it's weird. It's weird to me that it felt like at least when Trump was in office, there were protests all the time. Even during COVID, there were Black Lives Matter protests. There were businesses stay open protests. There were all sorts of protests. And then that just, it's gone. You don't see anybody like really lining Washington D.C. anymore. Probably for obvious reasons. I think the gates are still up, right? But it's really discouraging. So it's really discouraging. So I mean, that's the thing, is just it's just really nuts to see the lack of protest, I think, as we're in the midst of it. Like on the outskirts, as we saw the clouds coming, people were outside protesting, saying MAGA, America First, all this and that. But I feel like now that we're in the middle of the storm, uh, everybody's inside, and so that's a problem. Uh, which shows that the fear of the government is actually working. It's preventing people from doing what must be done to save our freedoms in this country. But if I had unlimited money, this is what I would do. I'll tell you. If I had unlimited money, this is what I would do. Besides finish working on lore. But politically speaking, if I had unlimited money, this is what I would do. I would have a massive rally at the Capitol. And I wouldn't bring anybody but the best Christian political thinkers there were. So, as I as I think of the people I would invite, they're all going to be at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. David Bonson, Vadi, they're all going to be there. Maybe that's the event, Maybe that's the moment where people, who knows? Maybe pray that God uses that stuff. And when you see any streams or clips or sermons or stuff from that conference, share the heck out of it. That'd be really incredible. Maybe that's the moment. I don't know. Like, I don't know at this point, like, what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take to get people to really change our nation and the world, really, at this point. It's probably going to be some, you could make, I remember, I'm post-millennial. I believe Christ is king. He's going to defeat all his enemies. And what we're seeing right now is Christ defeating his enemies. No question about it. Scary times to live in. Sad, depressing, obscure for sure. But Jesus is crushing his enemies, and that is what we're seeing. But it might be over for the first world countries at this point. It might this just might be the it. And this might be what it takes for some of the third world countries who are hearing the gospel proclaimed for the first time in these countries where they're getting cell phone access and cell phone coverage for the very first time, skipping never having a landline phone, automatically getting a smartphone. Maybe it's these countries that really take hold of the gospel. That would be fantastic. And I hope I live to see the day where some minor third world country becomes a global superpower purely off of the result of the gospel in such a way that it's unquestionable, which is something really important to think about. If we know that Christ is king and he's defeating his enemies, and that eventually revival will come, reformation will happen again, we won't be left with interpreting events through books. These are the few books that we have, like in the first Reformation, right? They're still trying to figure out how this whole printing press thing works, right? So we won't be left with these obscure details and books from a few authors. We'll have video of it. These third world countries have smartphones. We'll watch it. We'll watch Reformation happen. We'll watch nations be built. We'll watch godly kingdoms be established in such a way that we'll never be able to not know how it happened exactly. Rome wasn't built in a day, but the next time Rome is built, we'll get to watch it get built. And that's hopeful. That's something that's really cool. Because if you look through the history of communication through Christians, countries have come and gone, empires have risen and fallen, but the technology has remained. The printing press is still there, right? We're always going to have the internet. We're always going to have computer systems. We're always going to have that now. Even when the government tries to take that away, they're going to fail pretty badly because we're going to use the technology that we have to invent stuff out of our garages. I was actually watching a YouTube video of a guy who taught himself how to make semiconductor processors in his garage. So I was thinking about that when I was watching that video. I was like, that's pretty impressive. Christians need to learn how to do that, because if there's not a single element of an electronic component that we can make in our garage, we can run the world. It might resort back to that. I don't know. I don't know. Let's check the YouTube chats. I've kind of ignored YouTube for a bit. Feel bad about it, but that's what happens. Oh man, Thomas Stone, a $50 super chat, man. Thank you so much for that. You didn't leave a message or anything for me to read, but wow, $50 super chat from Thomas Stone. Really appreciate that one, man. If you guys keep sending those super chats, my wife is gonna make me do this a lot more often. Man, my wife is really gonna. Y'all gotta stop. Y'all gotta stop. She's gonna make me be on here every night. So, but yeah, if I can make a few extra bucks doing this, that'd be great, wouldn't it? That'd be great. Look. H Clan 5, I'll take your question. He says, thoughts on crypto? I don't have any particular thoughts on crypto, but I do really like blockchain technology. I think crypto is a pretty interesting use, and a good use, by the way. I just cashed out about $1,000 today of crypto, which is awesome. I didn't know I had. Remember that social media platform Minds, M-I-N-D-S? Well, they're still up. I post stuff on there maybe once a month, and I never get a single like or comment. So I haven't been posting on there at all because the engagement is nuts. But like the last time I went on Minds, I had like 800 Minds tokens or something crazy like that. And it came out to about like $1,000 in Ether. Somebody said, take your wife out to dinner. I will. We're going on a road trip Saturday to the Fight Laugh Feast conference. I'll be sure to take her out to dinner. Thank you. I miss my son. But no. Okay. So back to the question. Blockchain. So I don't know how that money got there, but I'm glad it did because it was right before our road trip. So that's awesome. I wish Minds was more popular than it was, or you better believe I'd be on there every single day. But with all that said, I don't think crypto is a valid form of biblical currency because it doesn't have a real world practical use outside of being currency, in the sense that gold or let's say a chicken does in terms of being currency. And one of the key principles that's missing from money, and I know it's missing from American money too. So I'm not agreeing that American money is legitimate currency at all. But the one thing I have not seen, and I'm sure people are working on this, and I'm sure it'll happen at some point, but the fact that I can take gold and I can use gold for jewelry, I can melt it down and use it for electronic components. There are uses to gold outside of being a currency. Same with a chicken. I could trade you a chicken for a beer, and you can use that chicken. You can use the feathers. You can use the eggs. You can cook it. There are other uses outside of being a chicken. So that is why a chicken is a better monetary form of money than the American dollar. Problem is chickens aren't worth much. and they cost more than their value is, essentially. So there's a problem there. But essentially, in terms of if we didn't have any money and I had a lot of chickens, I'd be pretty wealthy, in the sense of what I could do with either selling the eggs or trade. I guess if there's no money, I could trade the eggs. I could trade the feathers. I could trade the meat. Right. So there's a lot of different options available, but so. Someone says Bitcoin doesn't need a use outside of money. Bitcoin fulfills pretty much every property of money. It doesn't fill the property of money that has uses outside of being money. That's a key requirement of something to be money. That's why gold is a legitimate form of currency. I think it's also the reason why we see gold listed in Scripture as a form of currency. And so gold and silver and actual valuables, jewels and things like that, where they have uses, they have practical uses outside of just a random number that we ascribe a value to. So you're saying that's not a property of money. It is a property of money. It absolutely is. And I know very respected economists that would agree with me. You can read Gary North's book. I think his book is What is Money? Maybe somebody knows the name of Gary North's book, but that is a good book, and it's free, I think, too. But yes, absolutely is a biblical requirement of currency. So that said, just to be clear, I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I'm not anti-blockchain. I think they have tons of amazing uses. I was thinking of this the other day, for example, that because the cryptocurrency has to be tied down to an actual legitimate value to be worth something. If you had, let's say, the cooperative program in the Southern Baptist Convention, and the ties from all these churches in the country, that total number is what the value of the cryptocurrency was tied to. And then that way you could send missionaries in third world countries money immediately without having to go through Western Union. But that cryptocurrency was tied to an actual value. That'd be really great and really nice. But I got another super chat again from Sandra, and she says, "Can't wait to see what Lore has to bring. All you need." Also, you need to go live more. You provide a lot of good information. I do need to go live more. That's what my wife's been telling me. And then you guys just lay on the super chats like crazy, and now I'm never going to not be able to go live more because my wife will make me. Thanks to you guys. I like what Ed Ryan said. Ed Ryan says, "Are cigars a valid form of currency?" Well, I think so, because cigars can be used as fire starters. They can be used as cigars. So you could trade them for eggs. You could trade them for things, and then they have a value outside of themselves. So, yeah, I would say that. I don't think that cigars are easily as transportable as, say, a dollar bill. I think that's another requirement. I could be wrong on that one. But they have to be in some sort of form where they can be transported easily. So my wife says, "Super chat away. We're road tripping soon." Yeah. So see the problem. We're my wife. My wife said dinner isn't ready yet. You're good to continue. See, guys, you guys keep the super chats coming. Dinner is never going to be ready. I can promise you. How do you make Marcus starve to death while also giving him tons of money? That's how you do it. No, thanks to everybody who's super chatting in the YouTube chat. That's really great. That's fun. I would like to do this more. We're about to we're about to leave for a month to Virginia. So maybe I'll pack up my mic and take it with me since we're road tripping. And maybe I'll do this more. So, my wife with the flying money emojis. So, Ed Ryan says that cigars are more transportable than a chicken. That is true. No lies detected there. So, let's see. Hold on. I'm just looking at one thing real quick. All right. All right. So, thank you. Uh, okay. So, that was fun. A $50 super chat. My wife says, yes, bring your mic. Flying money emojis. Okay, honey. But what else you guys got? I got another $20 super chat. You guys are nuts. With what is going on in Australia, how does that speak to the nature of the church there? That I know we have a lot of people that work with end abortion now that are in Australia, like really solid Christians. And I saw the video of, maybe somebody can post a link in Facebook. You can post links, I think. Maybe somebody can, or in the Discord, post a link to some of the videos. I'll watch them. But in Australia, of them like arresting people in Australia for just not having a mask on, just outright arresting people in a way that the Black Lives Matter people would be burning down cities for not having a mask on. Insanity. Absolute insanity. But I think, a lot of those discussions... Oh, I miss my son just sent another $20 super chat. My friend, I'm about to relocate to Tennessee mountains. I just purchased a tiny home off the grid. Oh, that's fantastic. That's a good move. Well, if you're in Nashville at the Fight Laugh Feast conference, is it next week? Are we a week away? The next weekend, the 9th through the 11th. I'd love to see you at the Fight Laugh Feast conference. So, but yeah, Australia is in a mess. Thank you so much for the extra $20 too. I miss my son. I really appreciate that. So here's the thing. Australia's in a mess. But I've had a lot of discussions with friends, solid Christian believers in Australia, and they're monarchists. So, when you believe that legitimately they believe a king is a good form of government. I think a lot of those are starting to kind of waver on that. But look, they don't have guns in Australia. They can't fight back. They're monarchists. They're under the Queen of England, right? They're monarchists, not even of their own country. They have a queen ruling them, right? So, and they're really proud of it. They believe it. They support it. They're into it. And so, I never went to Australia, but I know Apologia went to Australia when I was there. And they were telling me how crazy, like, smuggling vape juice into Australia was massively illegal. Or I think they could they bring their own? I forget exactly. But it was like really crazy illegal. It was nuts. Their bans are insane. And somebody in Australia is in this reform pipe and cigar smoker group, and he was saying it was like $30 to $50 an ounce for pipe tobacco in Australia. Insanity. That's insanity. That's insanity. Because like pipe tobacco is like the cheapest here. It's like maybe $2 an ounce, and they're paying $40 an ounce for pipe tobacco. So, So anyway, that's my thoughts on Australia. We need to pray for Australia. They are in danger. Um, maybe it'll be good for them. Maybe they'll realize living in a monarchy with complete allegiance to the Queen is not the best means of of communication. So, anyway, I'll put my Discord in the chat one more time in case somebody wants to video chat. I do like video chatting and having conversations with people that way. So I put that in the chat. Feel free if you want to come in and have a discussion, and we'll go from there. Also, if you guys have any links or stuff you guys want to see, let's check on Facebook. We've been so focused on the amazing generosity of the YouTube people versus the Facebook people. I know Facebook people. It's not your fault, Facebook people. There's no way to super chat in Facebook. But yeah, not a lot of action. Not a lot of action happening like my YouTube folks. So my wife just sent a $5 super chat and said, "You're the best. Gotta launder something. Launder that money, honey. Wash it clean. Wash that money clean." What is going on? You know what? Let's see what's going on Twitter right now. Usually this time of night, there's some really interesting discussion happening on Twitter. We shall see. Oh, John Speed has an interesting thread. Let's see if I can go back to it. Don't lose it. He says, Whole Women's Health, and this is in Texas, is continuing to take appointments in Texas for child sacrifices, regardless of what the Texas heartbeat law says. They are claiming on the phone they are doing transvaginal ultrasounds and won't do sacrifices if they are past six-week analysis. They are booked through September 9th. Just because this is what they say on the phone does not mean that is what they will do. Ask the question, do they own a transvaginal ultrasound? It's a great point. Well, we actually interviewed a former employee of Whole Women's Health in Texas, and she said that they were required by law to have a heartbeat monitor to listen to the baby's heartbeat for the mother, right? Well, the employee told us that they had a heartbeat monitor. It was just new in a box and never opened in the room because the law didn't say that they had to. It just said if the mother requested it. And, of course, they don't. So, or no. It didn't even say that. The law just said they had to have one. They never said it had to be open. The law never said it had to be open. So everyone's excited. I see on my Twitter from really solid people who I love and respect who are retweeting this Texas law like it's a great thing. And it's not. It's not. By the time a woman usually notices that she's pregnant, books the appointment, gets in the door, goes through the waiting period, the 6 weeks are going to be over for the most part. And it's not very hard. It's not very hard to just no one's talking about this, but it's not very hard for someone who's having an abortion to go to Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood just says, "Oh, it looks like you're 4 weeks. We'll see you in 2 weeks." Like, that's not hard. It's not. It actually defeats the purpose of all the 23, 24 week requirements or whatever. It just defeats all that purpose because you're just going to push it back. not the 23, 24. The was it the partial birth abortions? Right? They put all that money into partial birth abortions because they thought that was just too late, and they're always trying to get the earlier the better, the earlier the better. But when you go the earlier the better, all the abortion clinics are going to do is just push the date back. Even if they were to do that, I don't even think they're going to do that. I think it's pretty simple. If the abortion doctor is the one that determines what the date of the baby is, the abortion doctor is the one that's going to say, looks like 6 weeks, 1 day. Like, how hard is that? The baby's 3 weeks old. Looks like 6 weeks, 1 day to me. There's no enforcement of the law either. I don't think there's any. I haven't read it, but I do know that the pro-life industry is very, very fond of passing really cool legislation that does absolutely nothing, but it makes them look really good and they can raise money. But again, every pro-life Supreme Court decision has been opposed by a Republican-seated Supreme Court, Republican majority Supreme Court. So doesn't really matter unless you defy abortion. If it, like some cities should defy abortion, like they're defying mask and vaccine laws. How about that? Let's do that. That's what you do. You write a law that bans vaccine mandates and bans mask mandates and abortion clinics at the exact same time. Put that law in. You put that law in, and now we're talking. So David Farrell said babies are murdered here too was a big reveal for that. Another $5 super chat. Thank you, I miss my son. She says there's a father in Texas trying to save his twin sons from forcibly being transformed. Thank you, I miss my son, but you really don't have to send me any more super chats. And I'm being serious because you just said that you're without a job. So forcibly being transformed. Oh, that's genital mutilation, not abortion. Yeah, yikes. That's psychotic. I'm actually in this secret Facebook group. Don't know how I got in there. It's a private Facebook group, not really a secret Facebook group. Private Facebook group that is about parents whose sons are transforming, or sons and daughters are transforming. It is gross child abuse, that group. And I've been in there taking some screenshots and occasionally and just trying to see how wicked these people are. It's really disturbing what people are doing to their kids and won't just say no. But can we talk school boards bowing to tyranny? David Farrell? Hey, David, if you want me to talk school boards bowing to tyranny, you're going to have to send me the link to your video. And I will play it because I thought it was really good. My friend David, who homeschools, spoke at Newport News Public Schools against, I guess it was against trans, whatever they were doing in Newport News public schools or whatever. So hold on, my microphone keeps falling. Oh, that's why it was pretty. Is that why? Stop falling. Stay tight. Stay tight. Well, okay. I just won't have it at that angle anymore. It doesn't like that. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. It wasn't Newport News Public Schools. It was York County. You said the QI can do. I don't know what QI is. But anyway, yeah, the solution is to get your kids out of schools. Stop playing around and pretending like you're going to reform the. You guys can't reform your local city councils to ban vax mandates. You're not in any way whatsoever gonna do that. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, here we go.
In our system.
All right, David Farrell. I'm gonna pull this up, David. I think David did a great job. He's a homeschool person. He homeschools his kids. So, what's the time code am I looking for? 159? 159, I'll pull this up. 150, there we go. Awesome. This is my friend David in Virginia, crushing it at the school board. Hold on. Wait, I had it. There we go. 156.25. Let me pull that up in the browser.
Our next speaker is David Farrell.
Pull that up in the browser. There we go. Watch this.
David Farrell, 105 Clearbrook Landing, Grafton, Virginia. Superintendent Shander, Chair Higginbotham, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Sic semper tyrannis, thus always the tyrants. They're three simple Latin words that are packed full of meaning. Emblazoned on our flag is the response that this board should have when a tyrannical government like Governmental Northern's uses unbalanced executive power to force its citizens to comply. Depicted on the flag is a woman of virtue vanquishing a fallen king. In such fashion should our local government act when the executive branch of the state has exceeded its limits. I believe Governor Northam and our health commissioner have done so. It is the responsibility of this board to respond not in a violent way, but in a defiant way, sending the message that tyranny has no place in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Board members, your authority is delegated authority from God, and as such you should interpose when tyranny that defies our God-given rights rears its ugly head. The main issue I wish to address tonight is Virginia Code 22.1 to 23.3, which is a new law shoved in by our Democratic-controlled GA during the middle of a pandemic that forces local divisions to bow the knee to the God of the LGBTQ plus movement and forces students, staff, and faculty to go against their First Amendment right of freedom of religion. Not only that, but as written, the model document will allow for gender identity to be withheld from parents and allow a biological male to go to the women's restroom and vice versa. I know and love several students who are in York County schools, and I stand in here for their safety in this matter. Do not allow these students and friends of mine to have to undergo that. I also know Christian teachers who would not comply should they have to use pronouns contrary to a student's biological sex. We already have read stories of teachers who have resigned or been fired from Loudoun County for this very reason. This is tyranny, plain and simple. York County wants people with a backbone who will defy tyranny no matter the cost. Our county, our Commonwealth, and our nation were founded by men who did such. Christians like myself believe that God created man, male and female, in his image, and as such, to go along with this law would be to go against our faith, because acknowledging a lie contrary to biological truth is not only lying, but denying God's created order according to what he said in Genesis 2 and what Jesus repeated in Matthew 19.
Amen.
Furthermore, it is the parents' responsibility given to them by God to raise their children, not the state's. I believe that this goes against our First Amendment rights, and as such, I'm pleading with the board to not implement such policies and procedures in York County. I am thankful that it appears that York County has not succumbed and added to their policies and procedures as of right now, although I know it's being discussed tonight. Lastly, I want to plead to Christian parents who are able to pull your children out of public schools. It has been evident for many years that our government and our society has abandoned God and believes in a worldview that's contrary to Scripture. As Vodi Bakum said, we have to stop sending our children to Caesar and expect them to not come back as Romans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell.
Way to go, David. Way to go, man. That's what I'm talking about. Not only did David say to pull your kids out of government schools after telling the school board to submit to the will of God. Not only did he do that, he told them to get out of government schools. He quoted Vadi Bakum. You can't get any better than that one. That's awesome. Way to go, man. We need more Vadi Bakum quotes at government school board meetings. Like, people should just go in to these school board meetings and just start quoting Vadi Bakum, just word for word. That's what needs to happen. More of that. Thanks, David. I really appreciate that, man. That was really good, man. That was exactly what needs to be said. Repent, believe the gospel, quote some Vadi Bakum, and tell parents to pull their kids out of school. By the way, if you look at this, it's interesting. She doesn't have a mask. She doesn't have a mask on. He doesn't have a mask on. You can see who the freedom-loving people are. The only thing that's missing is just somebody just sitting in one of those yellow seats, man. That's the only thing that's missing from this. Just sit in one of those yellow seats. So. I'll show you a doctrine of the lesser magistrate. Just plop down on their little yellow seats. So, oh man, that was good, man. I really appreciate you doing that. That's a really good clip. But yeah, what's happening on? Let's see, what chat have I not checked in? Facebook. Yeah, seems like people are starting to phase out. So I'm thinking it might be time. My wife says Washington Post wrote an opinion that said that students are not the ones who are indoctrinating teachers. That said that students are the ones who are indoctrinating teachers, not the other way around. Washington Post wrote an opinion that said the students are indoctrinating the teachers. Well, that's not true at all. Have you guys seen liberal TikTok? That's what's missing from this night's stream. Libs on TikTok. Where'd it go? Libs on there we go. One of the best Twitter accounts there is. That's not it. That ain't it. Because there's no tweets there. Did they get banned? Did Libs on TikTok get banned? Does anybody know? Libs of TikTok. Got it. That must be that must be one of their shadow accounts in case they get banned. That's what I'm thinking. Let me pull this up, and we'll see what's new. We'll see what's new on the TikToks. By the way, I'm on TikTok. You can find me at I am King Ginger on TikTok. I'm King Ginger on TikTok. Let's see. This is entertaining for hours. Make sure we can see this feed well. Yes. All right. That's a pinned tweet. Let's see. Let's just. There's specific ones I'm looking for. I know they're going critical race theory in action. Here we go.
Episode of Cooking with Crackers. Today, you're in for a special treat. We're going to make my great-great-great-great grandmama's 400-year-old recipe of racist pie. Now, I don't normally cook racist because you have to bleach your entire kitchen so that everything is completely white. But I thought I'd show you some of my grandmama's secret tips so that you can tell when a pie is really racist. Let's get cooking. We'll start with 2 tablespoons of white privilege, basically a magical knapsack's worth. Now, it is important to put...
Does she realize she is white too? Does she realize that?
Privilege in the bowl first because it is a very spoiled ingredient and it is used to be taken care of and coddled in order to feel safe in the white bowl. What do you do with the bowl? Next, we'll add 3 ounces of supremacy. Now, you really need to stir this up to make it light and frothy so it can rise above the other ingredients. And
you know, she's not even funny. It's not even funny. It's liberal humor, right? Where the joke is, I think it was, where did I hear that? It was a meme with a quote from a comedian, but I don't know if the comedian actually said it or it was just a good quote, but it was a good quote. And it was just saying that like late night comedy has just become people laughing, it would just become people cheering on the rhetoric of their political identity as opposed to actually laughing at a joke. Somebody actually posted like an animated GIF of Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Report, and it was like they were using it to mock me. It was like Colbert was putting his hands on his face and he had like 2 hands from the table, like, so he had like 4 face palms. And I thought, I miss that Stephen Colbert. Like, even if you disagree with his politics, he's still funny. So let's see. Let's find some crazy. The best part about Liv's TikTok is the crazy. Here we go. Oh, this is interesting.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Holy
shit.
By the way, can't block the language here, so if you have little kiddos, you might want to mute it.
As a lot of you know, I have a 5-year-old son who is with his mother, my ex-wife, and her entire family 5 days a week while he goes to school in her district. Also, as many of you know, she and her family are all anti-vax, anti-mask. Guess what she admitted to while I was recording in my car on my property? I asked her point blank, "Are you COVID vaccinated?" She said no. I said, "Do you plan to be?" And she said, "Maybe, I don't know." She said, "Maybe, I don't know." I now have hard proof of her admitting she is not COVID vaccinated around my son and takes no precautions whatsoever. And I can subpoena video of her being in stores unvaccinated with no mask with.
Disgusting. Dude, reconcile to your wife and get married. Retain. That's just disgusting. That's not a man. That's not a man. I like. Here we
if
go.
I'm a she, her, or he, him, or they, them, in my professional emails.
First, please go watch the video because I'm not at all disagreeing with this creator. In fact, I think she brings up an excellent point about voluntary versus forced pronoun disclosure, especially in the workplace. What I want to address is a comment that I saw under this video that said, it's a privilege to not have to put your...
She's like the Ben Shapiro of the LGBT movement. Holy cow, she's talking fast. I don't even know what she said.
Please go watch the video because I'm not at all disagreeing with this creator. In fact, I think she brings up an excellent point about voluntary versus forced pronoun disclosure, especially in the workplace.
Voluntary versus forced pronoun disclosure in the workplace.
What I want to address is a comment that I saw under this video that said, it's a privilege to not have to put your pronouns in your email signature because trans and non-binary people have to do that in order to be gendered correctly. And as someone who has...
It's a privilege. These people are insane.
A complicated relationship with my gender and who presents from the outset pretty femininely, although I would argue that I just look like a fun vacation dad most of the time, but whatever. No, it's not a privilege, because if I were to put my actual pronouns that I have listed on my TikTok page in an email signature, that would invite a lot of questions, and I would have to explain to a bunch of people who I really don't care to explain that to what having no pronoun preference means. Having she, her invites all of these assumptions about me and is honestly worse than just not putting anything at all.
Ugh. Ugh. Just listen. Let's just. These are the people. These are the exact same people that are believing everything the news media puts out as fact, right? These people are the people that are saying that you need to get the sacrament. These are the people. It's insane. It's insane. It's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely outrageous. Oh, man. But anyway, it seems like there's been no new chats for a while. No new super chats. So I think I'm free to go. But thank you to everybody for joining. Thanks to everybody for being a part of the super chats. Thanks for the super chats that I've received today. It's really, really incredible. $145 in super chats. That's awesome. That's so great, because our road trip to the Fight Laugh Peace Conference is coming up. Really, thank you guys for that. By the way, if you're watching this, still watching this, go to lore.tv and sign up and register and be a part of what we're doing there. We're looking for accredited investors. We're talking about building we need to build our own platforms, right? We need to build our own forms of media and communication, and that's what Lore TV does, and that's what I work on every day. So go to Lore TV, sign up for the email updates on what we're doing there, and see how you can get involved, whether you're a creator, an investor, or you just want to be a streamer and supporter of content creators when they come out. Lore.tv. And then yeah, my wife is saying that dinner is ready, so I think I'm gonna go and have some dinner. And thank you guys so much for everything, and we'll meet again soon.